Welcome to the Nothing or Triple Show, a movie podcast that's not a spy. Would a spy pee himself? Huh? I'm Ian.
And I'm Christian, and that was probably a pretty obscure reference. And it reminds me how much I miss Bill Paxton. So that was a quote from True Lies, which, you want to know a funny fact about True Lies?
Do tell.
Okay, so I live in Mount Vernon Triangle in Washington, D.C., and the neighborhood was trying to do some, I don't know, like local promotion, and I was sitting at a restaurant, and they had coasters at the bar about the neighborhood. And one of them was a fact about True Lies, which was the site of my apartment building was the used car lot that Bill Paxton worked at in True Lies.
That is amazing.
I know.
I already knew that fact, though.
I wasn't telling it to you.
Oh, okay. I was a surrogate for the audience.
Yeah.
That is one of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger and Tom Arnold movies of all time.
Isn't it the only Arnold Schwarzenegger and Tom Arnold movie?
It's great movies of each of theirs, and they happen to both be in it.
Oh, yeah. One of those distinctions matters more than the other.
My other favorite line from that is when his wife is becoming a spy artificially, and they say, your code name is going to be, your contact's code name is Boris, and your code name will be, and she says, Natasha?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, Doris.
Boris and Doris. That's a great movie. It's 25 years old. And I think we maybe mentioned this on another podcast, but they're doing a TV series.
Right.
I hope it's a sequel.
Now that's on, where is that Disney or, no, it's Apple Plus, right? Who's doing the series?
No, I think it's Disney Plus.
Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So many pluses.
You can see the return of Harry Tasker.
My last thing on True Lies, my favorite memory of that movie was my parents rented it, and they got it on VHS. And typically their routine when they rented movies was they would rent two movies, one for the kids and one for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a Friday, Saturday, like 2-day rental thing. And I forget what the first movie was. We watched it, and then we went to bed, and they watched True Lies on Saturday night. And my parents were really strict about what movies and content we were allowed to watch on Sundays because this was supposed to be sacred. But my mom was a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. And so Sunday morning, we're dressed on our way out the door. She's like, wait, I have to show you something. And she plays like the first 10 minutes of the movie where, somebody's like scuba diving under the ice.
Somebody?
Well, it turns out to be Arnold, but we don't know who it is. And the knife that he has sticks through the ice, and she pauses it, and she's like, you'll have to wait to see the rest. And we're like, what? Why don't we just skip church? Like, what are you doing? She's like, I just had to show you that part. It's so cool.
That scene, it's supposed to take place in Russia or something. It's actually filmed in Newport, Rhode Island, and I was just up there last weekend. There's this whole row of mansions overlooking the water. It's an incredible place, but it's nothing like Russia, I assume.
Is it Russia? I thought it was like some other random European town.
Maybe. Okay, so welcome to the Nothing or Triple Show, or welcome back if you've listened before. It's been a few weeks since we recorded. I was out of the country visiting some of the filming locations for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And
I was not out of the country, but I just can't bear to do it without you.
Oh, yeah, thanks. We probably missed a lot of news, but in the interest of keeping things relevant, I'll say two things. One, we're going to focus mostly on news from the last week. And two, this is sort of the calm before the storm. It's a little bit quiet right now because a lot of the studios are going to San Diego for Comic-Con this coming weekend, and we expect there to be a lot of news, hopefully some surprises. So we'll have a lot more to talk about next week. But there's plenty to talk about this week.
One thing I should ask you is see if we can do it real briefly. You saw Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
The new one, Far From Home. Spider-Man and you were both in Venice. At the same time.
I forgot.
But I don't want to spoil it for anybody because I think people are still seeing it for the first time. But I think you said you liked it. How did you feel? You don't have to say anything about it, but how did you feel about the post-credit scenes?
I can't talk about a post-credit scene without talking about a post-credit scene.
Okay. Well, I don't want to spoil it for people, so maybe we'll just wait.
So, I'll say this. I really liked it. I can't tell whether it's meaningful or whether it was just supposed to be playful.
Fan service. It doesn't matter.
No, not fan service, but whether it was just played for laughs or whether it was something that is legitimately going to have an impact on the future. But I will say this.
I'll take it.
That's a post-credit sequence. The mid-credit sequence.
Oh, that's what I was talking about. I meant the mid-credit. You were talking about the post-credit sequence.
The sequence I was talking about involves Nick Fury and Maria Hill.
Yeah, okay.
Is that what you were talking about?
No, I was talking about the mid-credit sequence.
Oh, well, I'm going to...
So I do think it's more meaningful. The post-credit sequence changes the context of the whole film. Because there were things where I was like, wait a minute, why is that character kind of...
All right. Yeah, okay. All right, we'll talk about it maybe in a few weeks.
Okay.
I did appreciate in the mid-credit sequence that there is scaffolding in the background that says, wait till you see what we have in store or something like that with arrows pointing off screen.
Yeah.
That was quite on the nose, but also funny.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we have a bunch of news things to discuss. I want to say one quick thing, which is that one of my favorite musicians died this week, Johnny Clegg, who's a musician from South Africa. There's a movie connection because he really got some North American airtime with his song Dela, which was in George of the Jungle. But he was an incredible guy. He was a white musician who fought against apartheid, which white people just did not do. He was personal friends with Nelson Mandela. If you don't know his music or don't know his life story, you should seek it out. Okay, now to movies. So...
There's no great way to transition that story.
No, I'm really going to miss him. I saw him in concert 2 years ago, and he was an incredible storyteller. His concert wasn't just like song to song to song. He'd tell you these personal stories that weren't scripted, and then play a song, and it was incredible. And he had a great band, and they'd tell you another story, and it was this really interactive and immersive experience, not just music.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll go through these 6. Where's the little beeper that I hate? I can't see it.
You want to see it? Does it need to be seeable?
Well,
you can hear it.
Yeah.
All
okay.
Right.
Ready, set, go. Okay. The first big news of the week, breaking, hopefully when we post this within the last day or two, is that the Akira live action movie is delayed. And that's good news. It's delayed because our good friend Taika Waititi has decided to go back and do Thor 4, the write and direct Thor 4 for Marvel, which is awesome because I think for both of us, Ragnarok is one of the best MCU movies.
Or movies general.
Yeah, that's right. It's a go-to movie. Like every time I have like 10 minutes sitting on the couch where I just want to kill, I'll go back and watch a few minutes of Ragnarok. I literally did this last night.
Yeah, or just watch the beginning sequence through the music.
Yeah. What was Carl Urban's character's name? Not Krug? Krug.
He
not
is
Korg, but Krug? Krug, something. Whatever. Anyway,
yeah,
I love
the executioner.
Right.
Yeah.
But I love the sequence at the end when he finally realizes his true purpose is to defend Asgard, and he pulls out his guns, Tex and Dez.
No, Dez and Troy.
Oh, Troy
together they destroy.
Oh yeah. And then he jumps out with machine guns on Asgard, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway,
he got him in Texas.
Right. So Texas. Yeah. So we'll probably hear more about this at Marvel's got a Hall H panel on Sunday or something like that. So it's big news, but it's really exciting because it means that they're continuing on with Thor. So there's going to be continuity from this phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. B, because Taika Waititi and Chris Hemsworth seem to have some really great chemistry.
From Down Under.
Yeah. Well, no, one's from New Zealand, one's from Australia, right?
Adjacent to Down Under.
Are they both Down Under?
Wow.
Oh, Down Under us. This hemisphere.
Yeah. Nothing is beneath me.
Right. Yeah. So one question is, Thor ends up on the Guardians of the Galaxy ship at the end of Avengers Endgame.
The Asgardians of the Galaxy.
Right. So James Gunn is directing Guardians of the Galaxy 3, likely around the same time that Taika Waititi would be doing this. What does that mean? Could it be the case that some of the Guardians are going to end up in Thor 4? Or is Thor going to have, like maybe they show up at the beginning and Thor gets off the ship? Or could there be a team-up movie with Rocket? The whole Planet Hulk thing was a bit of a surprise.
Or Thor's friend Tree.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. As long as Korg is back, Taika Waititi's Korg.
Yeah, it should just be a buddy film with the two of them.
Yeah. All right.
Or I guess Meek is going to tag along.
Yeah. So big news. Okay.
Okay, wait, hold on.
We can't. The buzzer's about to go off. I talk too much.
Real quick. Hold on. Let me stop. Ooh. I probably shouldn't put a magnet on that. Why does Taika Waititi doing Thor 4, why is that causing the other Akira to be delayed?
So I have two theories, and it's total speculation. First of all, it's been in production hell and for years. Leonardo DiCaprio was originally on board to star, and then he was executive producing Taika Waititi's directing version of Akira. It was supposed to go before cameras at the end of this year, I think. So one thing is that maybe not two theories; these are related. They're in the casting process. Things been in development hell. They're in the casting process. They supposedly hadn't found the right person. It was going to delay production further. I think that there's still not. I think I'm sure that there's a lot of backlash in Hollywood from whitewashing.
Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, Ghost in the Shell, but not just Ghost in the Shell.
Other Asian characters.
Yeah, or whitewashing characters in general.
Okay, right.
So I think
ancient one or whatever. Even though I really like Tilda Swinton.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't hear as much about that, but
okay.
But yeah, so I think that Warner Brothers is probably nervous about doing that, especially if they're going to sink $200 million because you'd have to do that. And they had relocated the story to like Neo LA instead of Neo Tokyo, so you're sort of asking for trouble there. So yeah, I think
Warner Brothers needs some more wins. They've had a few missteps,
and this would be a big risk.
Yeah.
Okay,
you may proceed.
Thanks.
With the next story.
Okay, I kind of want to end on a good one, so I'll do this one next. The trailer dropped. We mentioned the title of this movie in maybe last episode or maybe before. The title dropped for Matthew Vaughn's Kingsman prequel.
I saw this.
The King's Man with Ralph Fiennes and Jimon Hanso and Daniel Bruhl and anyway, great cast. What struck me about the trailer is that the tone seems totally different than The King's Man. It seems more serious, and it takes place in the backdrop of World War I.
Yeah,
and
less slapstick than the last sequel.
Yeah, so I hope they don't take all the comedy out of it, but it seems to be taking just like a more reverent approach to the formation of the Kingsmen.
Yeah. It's much further back of a period film than I was expecting it to be. I thought it would be like one generation back, but it's maybe two.
Yeah. I'm surprised it wasn't further back. I sort of just assumed the Kingsmen had been around forever, like, back to the Knights of the Round Table because they named their characters after King Arthur's knights. But
sure.
I don't know. It looks really cool. That they've got Rhys Ifans, or however you say his last name, as Rasputin, and that's cool. So what I know of the movie is that
I wasn't expecting to see Rasputin in the trailer.
No, right. So apparently there are these like historical villains who get together to try to unleash some massive war. And it's unclear whether that's World War I itself or something even bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And Ralph Fiennes' character, who narrates the trailer, talking about how sometimes war is not the right answer, he's been tasked by the king, I guess, I think he's probably the king's man, to come up with a quote-unquote diplomatic solution. So sort of akin to the formation of MI6 or something like that. So yeah, check out the trailer. The movie comes out early next year. And I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Are you?
The trailer looks amazing.
Yeah.
And I love good period films. So
yeah. And I love both Kingsman movies.
Yeah. I still haven't seen them. But the trailer looked awesome.
Well, you don't like ultra-violence, so.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
See, to be fair, I loved Mad Max Fury Road. And that's pretty ultra-violent.
Yeah, I guess so.
I have more issue with like horror gore specifically because I like thriller and suspense, and I don't mind violence. I love the John Wick movies, but like the stuff that drives me nuts is stuff like Final Destination, where eyeballs are about to be gouged out and then they are. Like, it's just too cringy for me.
So it would bother you if a human being was put through a meat processor and then turned into a burger that somebody was supposed to eat?
Maybe.
Okay.
We'll see.
Spoiler alert.
It sounds delicious.
All right. Okay, well, speaking of horror movies and gore, Alex Aja, who's got the alligator movie Crawl in theaters right now.
Yeah, which is surprisingly doing really well.
I think it actually underperformed, and I think it's because they waited too long to start marketing it. But maybe it has legs this summer.
The reviews that I heard, people are crazy about it.
Yeah, the reviews are good. He's a great director. He's a great horror director. I don't know if you've seen any of his stuff. So the story is that he's rumored to be attached to, or at least to be developing a Nightmare on Elm Street reboot. And I think that's great because this guy does a really good job of balancing serious horror and tongue-in-cheek comedy, which is what the entire tone of A Nightmare on Elm Street was.
Yeah. Which is interesting because Sam Raimi produced Crawl
yeah.
and that was kind of his thing too.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's cool.
Yeah. So Alex Aja he's done a whole bunch of horror movies that I really liked, but the two in particular, Piranha 3D, with Elizabeth Shue and Adam Scott and Christopher Lloyd, who has the great line at the end of the movie where he goes, "These piranhas aren't even sexually mature."
That was a really good Christopher Lloyd.
Thanks. It's a really funny and like super gory and totally over the top and ridiculous movie. Like this one chick is parasailing down, right? And total chaos is happening on the lake because the piranhas are eating people. And her top comes off, so like suddenly there's a boob, and then suddenly she gets cut in half by a wire, and it's like the most ridiculous kind of horror. So that's fun. But then on the other end of things, he did a remake of Wes Craven's movie The Hills Have Eyes, about some mutants who are the product of nuclear testing, like generations removed from nuclear testing, living in the hills of Arizona or something like that. And a family gets stuck there in a camper, and they start to be stalked. And it was truly terrifying. I saw this one in theaters. It had Emily DeRaven from Lost, and I can't even remember who else was in it. Ted Levine, I think, was the father. But it's like it's a terrifying movie and very violent, but in not in a frivolous way, like a very unsettling way. So I'm psyched to see anything this guy does, and if he takes on one of the best horror properties, then
great.
Cool. Yeah, I know you don't like horror movies. Sorry, I talked about that too.
Some of them, but not in mass.
Okay, I'll cue one up for you here.
Okay.
Reset. Did you see the first production still from Ghostbusters 3?
I saw the set photo with people sitting, like the
family.
The family, yeah.
And what did you notice about that? So the photo is director Jason Reitman, his father Ivan Reitman, who directed
the originals.
The originals, and then the three like family leads: Carrie Coon, Finn Wolfhard, and the young girl McKenna Grace.
Other than noticing the one kid's from Stranger Things, I noticed the title slate said Rust City.
That's not what I'm going for.
Okay, well, that's what I noticed. I was like, what is Rust City? Because it says Rust City and it's got the Ghostbusters ghost behind it.
Yeah. Okay, so what I noticed is that the girl has
glasses,
curly hair and round glasses.
It kind of looks like Egon. I saw that too. I noticed that.
Yeah. I think
she's going to be a relative.
All right, so the log line is that it's about a family in a Midwest town that discovers something about their family history.
And then Reitman said that they don't know their connection.
Right. So it would be really cool if it was somebody related to Egon, and like that's how they treat his absence in the movie. So the movie's actually about his family, even though Harold Ramis isn't in the movie.
So it's Ghostbusters, the Egon legacy.
Could be, yeah. Might be a fun way to deal with it.
Yeah.
The rumor is that the original actors, potentially including Rick Moranis, have signed on. So we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, it's just icing on the cake if Rick Moranis shows up, because before the big lift was trying to get Bill Murray on board.
Yeah, and he said he would do it.
Yeah. So maybe he can make a personal call.
Hopefully contracts are in place. Also, I don't know if they're doing a panel at Comic-Con, but is there a possibility of another teaser? Probably not. I think it just started filming, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're probably going to hold stuff back. It seems like they've got a lot of surprises in store.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on that one?
No.
Okay. Next, can we please reset this clock?
Sure.
Thanks.
Let me do that for you.
Thank you. Someday I'll learn how.
Oh, doing it wrong. Reset. 1, 2, 3, go.
Okay, I'm ready. There's a movie that went into production in the late winter, early spring of this year called The Hunt. And it's produced and written by Damon Lindeloff and directed and co-written by Craig Zobel, who I don't really know. I think he did the Z for Zachariah movie that I never saw. But Damon Lindeloff, who is famous, we've probably talked about, I'm sure we've talked about him on this show. Famous.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, for
Lost,
show running
Leftovers.
Lost. Yeah, and then he co-wrote Tomorrowland. And so people gave this guy a lot of flack for not being able to land the whole mystery box thing. And then he did The Leftovers, which I think is one of the best shows of all time, and completely stuck an impossible landing. So he has earned my trust. And he's doing Watchmen for HBO. So I have high hopes for this movie. The teaser came out this week. I'm a little bit concerned about the scope of it just because the premise is that 12 strangers wake up and they don't know where they are. And then the teaser is all about special hunting trips. And it feels very much like The Most Dangerous Game or The Purge or something like that. All that Damon Lindeloff has really said about it is that there is a political twist to it. So,
did you ever see the John Leguizamo movie, The Pest?
Hell yeah, I'm in the mood to scam simply
I love
because
that movie.
I can.
It's probably one of my favorites of his. But
it's not one of my favorites of his.
Doesn't the third act of that movie get into that? Like, there's like
there's a crazy hunters after him. Yeah, yeah.
That's the first thing I thought of. I was like, what movie? Oh, wait a minute, that's The Pest.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, supposedly what movie came out last weekend? Not Spider-Man, but something else came out last weekend.
Was it Crawl?
Oh yeah, Crawl. Before Crawl, there was a full trailer for The Hunt that hasn't made it online yet. Maybe they're saving it for Comic-Con or something like that. But I'm excited to know more about it. I expect great things from Damon Lindeloff. Like, at the very least, even if it is sort of at face value a movie about hunting other people, I'm sure he came up with a good twist. The cast is great. Emma Roberts, Julia Roberts' niece. Glenn Howerton, who is one of my favorite comedians from his work on Always Sunny. Ike Barinholtz, who's also hilarious. Hilary Swank, Betty Gilpin, who I just saw in something. She was from Mad Men. She was in that movie I watched on the plane. Oh, I didn't tell you about this. I watched the Rebel Wilson movie called Isn't It Romantic, where she hits her head and wakes up and is like in a romantic comedy.
Uh-huh.
That's it. Next topic.
Okay.
Moving
on.
All right. And last but not least, Quentin Tarantino is still talking about Star Trek 4.
But in a substantial way, or just
Did you hear what he said?
No, I didn't hear what he said.
Okay, so he hasn't committed to Star Trek 4, but the most recent update from a couple weeks ago was that a script had been completed by the guy who wrote The Revenant, whose name I'm blanking on right now.
Wait, are we calling it Star Trek 4?
I don't know. Let's call it Quentin Tarantino's Star Trek.
Yeah, because I thought it was different characters.
Right, and so he's supposed to be doing a script polish on it. And he's on the press tour right now for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and people keep asking him about it. And so Quentin Tarantino has done two things on this press tour. One is he's committed to actually ending his filmmaking career with his 10th movie before he says he wants to move on to theater, which is cool. And two, he keeps saying that he might do Star Trek because it seems sort of unbelievable that he would end his career on a Star Trek movie. But let me read the quote.
Okay,
he said, I guess I do have a loophole if the idea was to throw a loophole into it, which would be, I guess Star Trek doesn't count. I can do Star Trek, but naturally it would end on an original. But the idea of doing 10 movies isn't to come up with a loophole. I actually think if I was going to do Star Trek, I should commit to it. It's my last movie. There should be nothing left-handed about it. I don't know if I'm going to do that, but that might happen. So, clearly this is in his head. The first story about this broke, I think, 2 years ago or something.
Yeah.
And there's now a script. He's still talking about it.
It also sounds like he doesn't have another idea that he wants to do instead.
Well, maybe
as his 10th film.
And the script that's being written is based on his idea. The story was by him. The script is being written by the Revenant guy, but I wish I could remember the guy's name.
It's such a bizarre way to end this Tarantino story.
Well, but I also like that he said he gave himself permission by saying there could be a loophole.
Yeah.
So what I like about the way he framed that quote is even though he seems to be struggling with whether or not Star Trek would be his last movie, which could be a make or break thing for him, he could come back. He could make Star Trek and come back in a few years and say, well, I want to do one more. But I appreciate that he's thinking about a loophole because it means he's thinking seriously about directing a movie.
One interview I had read maybe a month ago from him was that he had described his 10 films as 10 theater movies. And I thought you could do a Netflix or I guess in this case it'd be like a CBS movie. And now, I mean, maybe that means it kind of
I can't imagine
holds the budget back.
Yeah, the streaming service wouldn't sink $100 million into a Star Trek movie.
Right. So that's one thought. But yeah, you're right. You want the full budget.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Crazy
all I got
times.
for this week. Crazy times. Stranger things have happened.
Including Stranger Things Season 3.
Yeah, I'm only 2 episodes in, and
I haven't started it
bored
yet.
so far.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Okay. We're probably like way over time, especially since
26 minutes, 28 seconds.
Oh, God. Somebody's going to be listening and look at the ticker and see whether that's right, so we can't edit this at all.
It's already going to be wrong because I'll shift it forward for the intro and outro. So.
God. Okay. All right, so final thoughts. What's a movie you would recommend for this week? And I hadn't thought about this, so...
I don't think I've mentioned this on the podcast. I finally watched Chef.
Jon Favreau's Chef?
Jon Favreau's Chef.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Really good movie, top to bottom, perfectly executed. It'd been on my radar, but I hadn't been making effort to see it. And then I started watching the Chef Show on Netflix, which is also fun.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a alternative cooking show. Like it's not typical in any way. It's just kind of Jon Favreau with his friends cooking and having a good time. And it's a lot happens to be his friends are a lot of celebrities. But then Steph, my wife, and I were enjoying that show. It's like we need to go watch Chef. And so we watched it and we just had a great time. And I think it holds up too, even though they make a lot of jokes with social media being a big part of the story. Like when he tweets and the little tweet bird flies like within the scene, stuff like that. With the exception of one thing, they use Vine, which is no longer a thing. But the story development, the cameos, the acting, the directing, the how delicious the food looks, it's really a great film.
So my take on that movie when it came out was that it was an adult fairy tale, and Robert Downey Jr. is the fairy godfather.
All right.
Yeah.
Very good.
Think about that.
Yeah.
It's a very happy and sweet
because he gives him the...
Yeah, but he's like this eccentric goof who shows up and makes the fantasy possible.
Yeah. Very good.
Oh, man, I should have thought about this. I can't remember if I said this on the last... What did I recommend on the last episode? Was it Field of Dreams?
No, I don't think you recommended Field of Dreams. I think Weekend at Bernie's was maybe 2 episodes ago.
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, so here's what I just watched, and it's topical because the threequel is filming right now. But Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I hadn't sat back down to watch it in a few years. It is so good.
The original?
It's a great summer movie, but it's also super funny. It really holds up. The acting is great. There are a ton of hilarious running jokes in it. It's wonderful to see George Carlin whenever he's on screen. And that. And if I had recommended that, then go watch Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey because it's actually even better than Excellent Adventure.
Well done.
Thanks.
That's the show.
Yep.
Thanks for listening all the way to the end. Thanks for listening to us at all, because we'll take every listener that we can possibly get.
Except Vladimir Putin.
No. We want Russia without the Putin.
Mm-hmm.
What was I saying? Oh, yeah. Nothing or Triple. NothingOrTriple.com. Nothing or Triple on all the social media. You can find this podcast in all of the podcast stores. Please subscribe to us. Please tell your friends about it, because that makes us want to keep doing it. Like, we're not just talking to ourselves. So, see you next week, I guess.
Yes.
Did I leave anything out?
No, I was just thinking about the horse jumping into the pool scene from True Lies. I sort of zoned out there. Goodbye.
Hasta la vista.